Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining me this evening, for a special live show. We usually do our live shows on Wednesdays and or Fridays, but today's a little bit different, as you can tell. And one big reason for that is my guest today. You know her, you love her, you've seen her on TikTok with her reviews, and that is KT from MovierunTime. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a joy to be here.
Absolutely. And guys, leave your comments, questions in the live chat, and we'll answer them and read them on the air live, and go from there.
Absolutely.
So go ahead and, for those that may not know what you do, who you are, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I am a filmmaker. I do writing. I've directed. I've also starred. I do a lot of background. I've done stand-in. I've done this, that, and forever. You can find me on IMDb and so all crazy stuff I've done. And lately, I've taken to film criticism because I've found that it's really as rewarding on both ends. You know, you get to see what works, what doesn't work. As a filmmaker, you want to see what your colleagues and everyone else is doing, and then you want to talk about it. And there's this community of people that's really welcoming and wants to talk back with you about this nerdy thing that you're going to talk about anyway. So you might as well.
Right. Yeah, I know TikTok has blown up with so many different reviewers, critics, whatever you want to call it, and the community has grown exponentially since I started. Like 2 years ago, I started TikTok, and it's just blown up. And I've met so many awesome people on there, yourself included, Harry from
Lobby Intros.
Lobby Intros.
I love Harry at Lobby Intros.
Yeah,
fantastic
he's awesome.
guy. Shout out to him indeed.
Absolutely. I've had him on the show a few times, and we really get into it's one of those times where I think they're him and Stephen Lackey. I don't know if you know him from OTS. Those two people, when I have them on, it's the two times what I can actually dig deep into filmmaking and really get into it with them without, worrying that that's going over their heads. Yeah. Because they know what I'm talking about. So it's pretty fun having them on. But I also like having on, just people who in general who love movies, love physical media. You don't necessarily have to be a filmmaker, to love movies and to understand them.
That's what Letterboxd is really doing as well. I feel like TikTok has definitely been helpful, but also in the heels of Letterboxd, which is kind of like a democratic film critique website where everybody, come on, tell us what you're thinking.
Right. Yeah. I tried Letterboxd for a while, and I just can't keep up with it. It's like I always forget to log in all my stuff, and then I'm just like, forget it.
It can become obsessive where you're logging before you're even out of the theater. Like, go home.
Right. Yeah. What's funny is when I first started the channel in 2016, I think it was. So first of all, I'm a filmmaker, and I started. I moved from California to Texas, and I started my own little independent studio where we made music videos, short films, stuff like that. I did a lot of weddings just to bring in the money because that other stuff doesn't pay a whole lot. So you do what you got to do. I tell you, some of those weddings, they pay a lot, especially if you get Vietnamese weddings. They will shell out a lot of money for that. So yeah, to put food on the table, to pay the bills, that's why you had it. That's what I had to do. But and then it was in 2010, I was actually filming something, and I held my hands up with the camera, and all of a sudden I felt this just brutal pain in my back. And I literally couldn't move. And I had a guy with me who was helping me out, and he's like, "Dude, are you okay? What's wrong?" I'm like, "I have no idea." And I had to go to the car and sit there, and he filmed the rest of the project. And come to find out, I had a herniated disc of pinched nerve. Went in for surgery, and the surgeon botched the surgery. Left me with permanent nerve damage, muscle damage, partial paralysis in my calf, nerve damage in my foot. So I wasn't able to continue the business. I tried and tried, but I just couldn't do it. It was just too much. And so I sold the business and also gave my younger brother, Jason, who also does the same kind of stuff I do. I gave him like all my equipment so he could continue his business. And so I thought, but I still had that craving, that craving for filmmaking, editing. And so I thought, well, what could I do? I want to get that out. And so I thought, hey, YouTube. And what's funny is that I started doing movie analysis, stuff like that, and it didn't get anywhere. Nobody was watching. Nobody seemed interested. So then I started doing about, well, people are interested in physical media. So I started grabbing things off my shelf. Be like, hey, this. But the problem is I'm into filmmaking so much, and you probably the same way, that when you start talking about a movie, you start going all about the behind the scenes of how the movie was made.
Yeah.
And I found out people didn't care about that stuff. They cared about what I thought about the movie, but I couldn't help it. I had to, I'm talking about a movie, like, because that's what's interesting to me as a filmmaker is how they got the movie done, because movies are not easy to make. And if you make a really good movie, it's, 1 in a million chance you make an actually great movie.
Yeah, just getting it finished is hard. On so many ones I've been on, it's been like, are we going to even get it in the can?
Oh, I know. It's like so many variables come into play. I mean, not just financially, but other things come up as well. And so but like I said, nobody seemed to be interested. Nobody was watching. And I figured, okay, I'm putting all this effort into doing this and no one's watching. And I thought, okay, well, and just by chance, because I still have all my editing equipment. That's what I started out as an editor. I never went to film school. I just kind of self-taught. And so I was wondering, with 4Ks coming out, how much better really is it? So for myself personally, I just put a side by side, wondering how much better it is. And then it dawned on me, I'm like, well, wait a minute, if I feel this way, then others do too. Is it worth shelling out $30 to rebuy the same movie in 4K when I have the Blu-ray? So that's what I started doing, and that's when the channel really took off. And I went from like 2,000 subscribers, now almost at 9,000 subscribers. And so yeah, it's nice. Taken it.
Yeah,
taken off.
I've even seen these videos. Before I even knew who you were, I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen that video before.
Okay.
It's so vividly helpful to see that comparison. Like, oh yeah, no, that's what I want to know.
Yeah, and a lot of people sometimes, we get criticism all the time when we're on social media. It's just something you have to deal with, all the trolls, and so from time to time I get stuff like, that's total BS. You're just tweaking the saturation and the color levels and stuff, and then a friend of mine suggested, hey, why don't you actually show behind the scenes of how you actually do the videos?
Touche.
And I'm like, well, I got nothing to hide. What do I have to hide? Because no one else is doing that. I don't know. So that's what I've started working on. I'm doing a RoboCop 2 4K versus Blu-ray comparison, and I'm shooting all behind the scenes stuff for it. And so it's probably going to come out another month where it's behind the scenes, just to show people, look, I'm legit. I'm not, playing around here. This is what it actually looks like.
Yeah. Nothing up my sleeves.
Right. And I mean, in case people are watching, they don't really know what I'm talking about here. I just got some examples here, if you don't mind.
No, I'd love to. Let's take a look at it.
So this is, where is it? So this is JFK. Now, Chef Factory released JFK, and I did my research and found out that Oliver Stone actually personally hands-on completely restored the movie from the original negative. And also hands-on with the color grading. And I had no idea how drastic it is until I actually put the Blu-ray and the 4K side by side, and you'll see.
Wow.
So it's like the Blu-ray's like almost looks like it's black and white. It's so desaturated.
Jeez, looks like a Christopher Nolan thing.
Yeah, and what's funny is so I actually know people who know people, and I know someone that knows the cinematographer who shot JFK, and so I asked him questions if he could ask him what happened, and he actually responded, but that's not JFK. But that's and he actually came back and said that Warner Brothers, when they did the HD master, they basically desaturated to make it look more documentary type style in black and white,
Mm.
when that was never supposed to look like that. And they never consulted Oliver Stone or the DP about it. And
Really?
yeah, and I found some interviews where Oliver Stone's been very, very vocal about it, and almost spiteful to Warner Brothers for doing that. And now he's finally had the chance to go back and correct what once went wrong. And it's just I couldn't believe it. I was just in awe over this. And now I find out that Born on Fourth of July is coming out from Shout Factory from Warner Brothers. And so I'm thinking, okay, if this is happening with JFK, I'm really curious now about Born on Fourth of July, because he did the restoration work on that as well.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's such a peculiar thing to do without the consent of the original filmmaker.
Right? I mean, they just think that, first of all, people don't understand. You do not own the movie. The studio does. You don't own it. Once you're done shooting, once it's in the can, it's no longer yours. It's the studio's, and so they can do whatever they want with it. But it's just crazy, because you would think that, well, why wouldn't they at least involve the DP? You know, and
Yeah, yeah.
but while doing this, I've noticed that a lot of major studios just don't. Inglorious Bastards is one of the worst 4Ks I've seen, and and Tarantino had zero involvement in it. His DP had zero involvement in it, and I remember reading an interview that he did where someone asked him about it, and he said, "It's not my movie anymore." So Universal does whatever they want to do. So and that's kind of hurtful as a filmmaker too. It's like,
Yeah.
this is my art. This is a movie that I sweat and bled for 3 years, and you make it look like that.
Especially a filmmaker like Tarantino that really does have an auteur vision and a feel about him and sticks with
Right.
a specific editor for so long. It's so very much him for you to step in there and be like, but we got it. Is very rude. Very rude.
Right. And it's like, as you know, even color grading is a visual art form and
Hmm.
a visual language. That's what I say that in a lot of movies, where color grading is a visual language. And a lot of times directors will use certain colors for certain scenes as language for the movie. And then when the studio goes in and destroys that, yeah, it infuriates me.
Yeah.
I don't know if have you ever seen a movie called Nostalgia from Andrzej Trzowski? I think that's who it is.
No.
So this was another one. So the Blu-ray, so it was actually filmed in color, but printed on black and white. So it's supposed to still have a little bit of color in the black and white footage.
Oh,
On the
crazy.
Blu-ray, they just went in and just put a black and white filter on it.
Oh, but they like so purposefully did that.
Right, right. And I mean, look at that. With
Wow.
the, it's just insane.
That feels like going in and taking a Monet and being like, look, I get the pastels, but can we punch this up a little?
Right.
Like, you're totally missing the point of what they were trying to do.
Yeah, it's just I'm trying to find one. Yeah, and I mean, it's just crazy. So yeah, and I talked with my a producer that works at Kino Lorber about this, and he was saying that this is like one of the prized possessions as far as physical media, because a lot of work went. I think they said almost 3 years of work went into restoring this film. back to
Wow.
how it was originally supposed to look.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Good
it's
on them.
just yeah, it's just really interesting. And then people are like, well, that's not how it looked. And I'm like, well, when you've watched a DVD or Blu-ray for how many years and you had nothing to compare it to, how would you know? And now you have something to compare it to. So you can't say it's not how it looked, especially if they involved the director and the DP.
Yeah, I really feel like you have to go back to the original intent of the artist to
Yeah.
find the default of what it should be. I mean, that's like being like, well, when I saw it, the aspect ratio is slightly off and the sound was too loud, so that's how it should be shown always. Like, no.
Yeah, no, no. There's I forgot what movie it was, but there's a movie where it was actually framed to be 235:1, and the
Mm.
Blu-ray was reframed to 185:1. And that's what people are used to. So when I did the side by side, they're like, "Well, that's not the way it's supposed to look. They screwed up the transfer." I'm like, "Why would they do that? First of all, to do that drastic of a aspect ratio when they're trying to re-release it." But it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's very, very hard to sometimes tell what people are doing. Oh, hi, we see the letter hack in our chats. Hi, Matt. That's Matt Strackbean.
Oh, okay. Hey, letter hack, how's it going? Thanks for joining us.
Another great show to check out. A friend of mine as well. I did an interview with him recently where we chatted about my stuff, life. Did a little sketch while we are chatting. It was really fun.
Oh, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. So yeah, so are you working on any projects right now that you can talk about?
Like, yeah, I'm working with the East Hampton Film Festival, which I've done
Oh,
spokespeople
cool.
with, kind of like hosted women in horror, chat with them last year, did all their PR, doing stuff with them again this year. Just did a bunch of readings from scripts that they have, like a workshop that happens at the end of the film festival where people can work with an established screenwriter and work on writing scripts, and then they have actors like myself come in and we read them aloud to people so they can see what they're like, and then hopefully eventually film them. This is a short film based film festival, but it accepts worldwide. So we're currently accepting up until January 1st, and then gearing
That's
into
cool.
selections and things like that. I'm working on a couple of scripts, always just shooting some short stuff. What I really love about TikTok is that you can practice film technique in your film criticism. So if you're trying to
Hmm.
criticize the way somebody did something, you can actually do it while you're criticizing it and show people, like, the very visual language
Yeah,
that we're trying to critique. So it's a beautiful way as a filmmaker to mini practice and then build that into larger projects later on. I recently did a joke 5 minutes short that you can see on my YouTube called "We Have Ghosts at Home," that practices a couple of things I learned on TikTok to make a quick 5 minute comedy horror piece.
that's cool. That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have people who ask me, what's the best way to get into filmmaking to start, and that's
Hmm.
what I tell them is go around the house and make little short films. That's
Hmm.
the that's how I learned. Me and I have a twin brother, Simon,
Hmm.
and back in the '90s, we took our dad's high 8 camera and we just started making little films. And we had one camera, but we would set it up for different angles. Like up
Hmm.
high, wide shots. All these
Yeah.
different shots, and we didn't know
Things
what we were
too.
doing at the time. We didn't know what we were doing at the time because we were just basically imitating what we saw, like from Spielberg or
Hmm.
other directors. And then it wasn't later until we found out, oh wow, we're actually doing this. That's what it's called that we're doing. The type of shot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's funny because friends would be like, "How many cameras do you have?" "Oh, just one." "Just one?" So it's a really, really great and unique way to practice, to learn how to shoot
Hmm.
and frame a scene, how to
Hmm.
block it, use what you have, creativity. That's one thing that and I'm sure you do too, when you have these multi-million dollar movies, the creativity's gone because you're using the money as a crutch.
Yeah.
So there's no creativity. And when you have a modest budget, I mean, right now modest budget is 80 million, 80, 90
Mhm.
million. But even that small of a budget, you don't have that crutch anymore. And
Mhm.
so you use creativity.
Mhm. And
And
even just
Okay.
digital, like the invention of digital. You can now just film and film and film and film,
Yeah.
and you don't really have to worry as much.
Right, right. Yeah, with our high 8 camera, we had 30 minutes on the tape. We're like, okay, we got to hurry up and get this done and then we didn't know what it looked like until afterwards when we watched it, and then we're like, oh, we got to shoot this again. Okay.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, me and my brother were talking the other day, saying, man, if we had the technology today back then that we have today, oh my God, we would have made it would have been a whole different level of movies we would have made.
Yeah. Tons of fun stuff.
Yeah. So I tell people, even you have a camera right here, your phone. Just start shooting on your phone, and just be creative and make your little short films, and writing. Learn how to write, because without a good script, you don't have a good movie.
You start to realize that very quickly. If you start to do what we're describing, just make some short films, you A, realize how much you have to film to even get 5 minutes of film, and
Right.
B, like, oh wow, writing these things is hard.
Right.
For everybody who's
Right.
critiquing films out there on TikTok, write one. Just try and write one first, and then go back to critiquing other people's work, because you can
Right.
understand how things happen then.
Exactly. And going back to how bad writing can't necessarily save a movie. And you talked about this one, The Watchers. I got this in from Warner Brothers to review, and I don't even want to review it. That's how bad it is.
When you think it'll be kinder to just pretend you didn't see it.
Right. And that's why it's like, do I really want to review this? I don't want to review it. And then you have good writing for something like, this is a low budget movie called Fade to Black. And it's about a film fanatic who meets a girl that resembles Marilyn Monroe, and then he becomes like a stalker, and he starts stalking her, and it turns into like this horror, psychological horror type movie. But excellent writing, and you can tell like the difference between like The Watchers and then another horror movie that has good writing, like Barbarian or something like that has some great writing. And you can definitely just see the differences there.
Yeah, and as an actor, like, you can really appreciate that. There isn't much that you can bring to bad writing or bad character development, lack of motivation. Like, how do you make up for that? Like, you can have a whole arsenal of skill, but when you're left with that on the page, can you blame the actor?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, they had what they used, they only had what they had to work with, and you can't make bad dialogue sound good. It's just, you can do your best, but you can be the greatest actor in the world, and you just can't do it.
Yeah.
So a good movie is 100% on the writing, which also has bugged me to no end, that writers just do not get the respect they deserve. Never.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know films where they won't even allow the writer on the set.
Yep.
And it's like, without them, there would be no movie. At least let them on the set.
And you can see why a lot of people are now writer-directors, because they're like, look, I'm holding on to my baby the whole way.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And yeah, I mean, I was the same way. I wrote and shot all my movies. I'm not the greatest writer in the world, like writing dialogue. I'm not good at writing dialogue, but when I watch something like Watchers, I'm like, oh, I'm a Pulitzer Prize winning writer compared to something like The Watchers.
Yeah, there's imposter syndrome, and then there's like, oh no, wait, that's what that is. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, right,
No worries.
right. Yeah, I just thought, let's get into a little bit of physical media. As the title of this video shows, there's some exciting news coming in from Shout Factory, coming in November. I don't know if you've seen the movie Hush from Mike Flanagan that was on...
I have. Mike Flanagan actually helped kickstart my first film.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Great guy.
Did you ever meet him?
He is a friend of the director, Jared Skolnick. So Jared has met and spent some time with Mike, but because I'm not in LA and they are.
Yeah. Makes it a little tough.
I'm just the writer. They didn't even let me. No, they did let me on set. I was also the actress, so they had to.
That helps too if you're the writer and the actress.
Yeah,
That's
but
awesome.
Yeah, I met Jared, and we were doing a Kickstarter at the time, so Mike gave us some money. So did Ken Birdwell, who helped co-found Steam. So we got
Oh,
some good people on helping us make that movie.
that is so cool. That is awesome.
Yeah.
What's the movie called? Can people
Yes,
watch it?
you can if you're looking at my channel. It's on YouTube. It's free because
Okay.
it came out in 2015. It's called Girl in the Basement. Actually, I even have my physical media
Oh,
copy of
nice.
it. We did like a Sal Bello cover, kind of going for a Hitchcock theme. And it is an allegory for the type of personality that gets attracted to and continues to have anorexia and be anorexic. But it's told through the lens of a woman who is trapped in the basement of a serial killer. However, the serial killer dies on top of the door, and she
And
can't get
she
out.
can't get out.
So you're just there with her now. What happens?
That's pretty cool. Again, filmmaking hard. Shooting in one contained space is hard.
Well, it's actually cheap. Ha ha.
That's why people do it, but it's hard too.
Yeah, we built
It's
the
hard.
set. Actually, my husband and I built the set. We did a false wall so that we could pull back and get, because
Oh,
you're right, it
okay.
is hard when
Yeah.
you're in a tight space like
Yeah.
that. And we built fake
Yeah.
sinks so we could like pump water in there. But yeah, we got
That's
lucky.
cool. That's cool. Yeah, I've talked to some people where they've never really shot a film before, and I said one of the hardest scenes to shoot is people sitting at a table talking. Like, how do you shoot that? And I always use the word geography. Like, you need to know the geography of how you're going to shoot something, and people look at me like I'm speaking a second language.
Oh.
Like, geography? What are you talking about? And I think Steven from OTS Movies talked about this in one of his clips on TikTok. But how do you shoot 4 people at a table? You can't just do a wide shot, just a static wide shot. That gets boring. So what's a creative, interesting way to shoot 4 people sitting at a table? And I mean that is one of the hardest.
I'm
to
immediately
shoot.
thinking of the scene at the end of Moonstruck, where they have like 8
Oh,
people
yeah.
at a table,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
this culmination scene. And I do remember how we're talking about behind the scenes stuff, how difficult it was for everyone to actually film that scene, but how stupendous it is. But you're right, like, God, how do we get this a tiny room?
Right, right. Yeah, and it feels impossible. I remember Spielberg, long time ago, said in an interview, the hardest part of making a movie is getting the first shot. And he said once you get the first shot, it's smooth sailing. Well, it's not smooth sailing, but it's smooth sailing as far as you know how you want to shoot the movie.
Yeah, you start to feel like we're here, we're doing it.
Exactly. And that's one thing I always kept in mind is know how you want to shoot the movie before you actually shoot the movie. Don't just go in there without a plan.
Storyboard. Oh my God, please.
Exactly. Exactly. And storyboarding isn't just for the director or the DP. It also can be used for the actors, for the effects team, production design. I did a interview a couple years ago with Dean Cundey. And if you guys don't know who he is, he's like the grandfather of modern cinematography. Shot, I think, the first batch of Carpenter films, shot Jurassic Park, Back to the Future, all this stuff.
So cool.
And he talked about that storyboards are extremely important. And I think he said that Carpenter didn't want to storyboard Halloween at first.
No.
And so he made Carpenter storyboard Halloween because he said, I can't shoot this the way you want it shot unless I have a visual guide. And and so he said that ever since then, Carpenter started storyboarding all his films because of that.
Especially for budget's sake. Like, if you don't want to take extra shots, if you don't want to spend time with people just relighting, which is so expensive, you really should storyboard, please. It's like measuring before you cut when you're making a table or something. Like, do it.
Right. Exactly. I remember Spielberg said in an interview that he doesn't like to storyboard because to him it makes him feel confined. Oh. But then when he started making the movies, he realized I need to storyboard the stuff for everyone else around me knows what the hell I'm talking about.
I can't see what you see, Steve.
Right. And that's the thing too, is like as a filmmaker, especially a director, sometimes you have this vision in your head that you can't it's kind of weird. You like when I shot some short films, I have this vision in my head, but I can't verbally express it to somebody. It's like, just trust me, I know what I'm doing. But the actor, he or she's like, but I don't understand. And so you can't just say, trust me and shoot it. You have to, otherwise the actor is not going to act. They're going to have that in the back of their mind thinking, well, what's going on here? Is this, you don't know what you're doing. Do I really want to be here?
I don't even know what part of me is in frame right now. Where am I? What am I? Like I kind of need to know what you're seeing to some extent. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's get back on topic with Shop Factory.
Sorry to digress so hard. Yes, I do know Mike Flanagan.
See, this is what I did when I first started the YouTube channel. It's like, okay, I'll talk about a movie, but then I went into this whole thing about how to shoot the movie and.
So I'm also on this. I'm going to digress for just a quick hot second more. I'm on a show called Movie Night Extravaganza, and we are notorious for being irreverent, like wandering around, but then also being deeply informed, and then being like, "Here's really 5 cool facts about the movie," but also here we go again. So like, I'm the worst person for not doing this to someone else.
I do the same thing. Like I'll have guests on, and I start rambling on about something. Like we just did, and they're sitting there like, "Okay, can we get back on topic now?"
Giving you the 1,000-yard stare, but no, sorry, I'm into it.
That's cool. Yeah, so Hush is finally getting a physical release, and why this is so important is because Netflix took the movie down a couple years ago, so you can't even see the movie anymore. What's it, Mac Flanagan's directorial debut? I'm not sure.
We're gonna have to ask the chats to fact check that for us.
Yeah. Let's get this comment here. The Letter Hack says, "I've created storyboards for 2 film pitches in the last couple years. Very necessary." Exactly, it is.
And as a comic book artist, I'm sure you're very good at making storyboards, sir. So
I can't draw, so I always had someone else did it for me. But
I do the Don Hertzfeld stick figures, but they're pretty good stick figures.
right. So what's so important about Hush being on physical media is that Netflix took it off. It did not get a theatrical release, and so nobody can see the movie. And this movie is, I'm thinking it's his first feature-length film, if I remember correctly. If people can fact check that for me, I'm sure they will, and yell at me on the comments. But this was very, very important to him. Very important film, and he's a physical media junkie, just as like we all are. And he's been trying for years to get this on physical media, and finally it is here. And Shout Factory went all out. They have 3 different versions. You can just get the movie itself, or this, where it comes with the 2 different O-rings or slipcovers, as people call them, 2 posters, and then they have another one that's like $90 where you get an autograph from Flanagan.
Oh, cool!
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
And limited run.
Very cool. Very cool.
So as soon as that was announced, I immediately ordered that.
Oh yeah.
I cannot wait to check this out. I actually, full honesty, I've never actually seen the whole thing of the movie. I watched part of it and I got distracted, and for some reason I just never went back to it, so I've never seen the whole thing yet. So
that's kind of a joy, though. What a little gem you have waiting for you.
Right, I can't wait till November, because especially seeing it in full in 4K on physical, it's going to be I'm very, very excited. November can't come soon enough.
Yes.
And I think that comes out November 26th is when it comes out. So
Thanksgiving, something to give thanks for.
Right. If you're a big Stephen Chow fan, his movie collection is coming out in November. November 26th as well. Let's see here. What else do we have here? Labyrinth. This has gotten 4 different sets. You can just buy the movie itself, or you can buy it with the square box and a poster. And I think it comes with some stickers.
This is childhood nostalgia, big time. Yeah.
Right. And that's another set there. It comes with a pen, a snow globe, which is cool.
Oh, that's cool.
And then the same day is not that one. Where is it? Where'd it go? Oh, it's not in here. It's not in here. Hang on. Let me see if I can find it here.
Labyrinth was a big one when I was a kid, I will have to say. Labyrinth, Legend, all those ones were very good.
Yeah, Dark Crystal.
Dark Crystal,
This
classic.
it. Yeah, I think I found it here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Dark Crystal.
Ah, joy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like these sets are expensive, but it's like not just as a physical media collector, but as a filmmaker, you want this stuff, like I said, not just for nostalgia reasons, not just for physical media, but as a filmmaker. And those both come out November 5th. Actually, Labyrinth comes out the 19th, and they both come out the 19th. I'm sorry. What
Those
comes
are-
out the?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Those are great examples of like films from childhood that really embody the kind of fantasy that brings people to wanting to make films. Like, wow, this was such a pure world of like overarching joy watching this, just being like, oh my
Right.
God, I am submersed. So yeah, I'm going to spend a lot of money getting a copy of that with all the bells and whistles. It made me love what I do for a living.
Right, and I'll tell you, the next movie I'm going to show is from Imprint. They announced this. It's an Australian label. It's the most I've spent on a physical media release in a extremely long time, and that is The Never Ending Story.
Oh, snap. Yeah.
And this comes with all this cool stuff. I mean,
Wow.
it comes with a leather-bound
Yeah.
book. I mean, come on.
With the logo that you can see in your mind's eye when you imagine it.
With the logo.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And it's 5 discs. Comes with the lobby cards, everything you could ever want. And what's cool about this is that it comes with the German extended cut. So, like, I think the American cut was 93 minutes, and the extended cut is 104
I didn't know there was an
minutes.
extended cut.
So I didn't either until I saw the specs on this. I'm like, now I can't
get a
wait
fire
to
up
get
under
this.
me to get that.
And the director's cut is in 4K. Usually places will only put the theatrical cut in 4K and the
Yeah.
director's cut is just on Blu-ray. So this is awesome. And it's like in American and USD, it costs with shipping was $200. And I'm just like, oh man, I was debating shouldn't I? Because that's
There's
a lot of money. And
stuff
I'm
there,
like, I just
though.
pulled. Yeah, and so finally I just pulled the trigger. I'm like, this is also a limited edition. There's only like, I think 1,300 copies they're making or something like that. So, or maybe it's 5,000 copies, but it's limited,
It's
so
only
you're
gonna
never
get
going to see
more
this again. So
expensive.
I'm
If
like,
you don't get it now, you'll just pay more for it later.
Yeah, and I'm sure Warner Brothers is going to release a 4K sooner or later, but it'll just, it's just going to be a simple one disc release.
No.
Nothing special to it. So it's like, I got
I have
to.
a soft spot for that
let's see
movie
here,
because every single time it rained, I went to a public school and we only owned one movie and it was that movie. So it rained, we would just watch that movie
really?
for like 5 years of my life. I was
That's
like,
funny.
it rained and I think of that movie now anytime it rains.
Oh, yeah, I grew up on that movie. I remember my dad renting it on VHS when it came out, and I loved it. It's one of the movies that got me into filmmaking, wanted me to make film. Justin Toner, hey man, thanks for joining us. Says glad they're getting another release. Dark Crystal. Don't have Labyrinth in 4K, so probably will get it. And then he says the Never Ending Story set is amazing but expensive. Yeah, it is.
True facts.
It is. The letter hack says, I've spent $2,000 on special edition comic books this year alone.
That's a total. That's all together. Yeah.
Yeah, not just on
Yeah,
one
but for the
thing.
grace of God go we all.
I don't even want to look at how much I've spent on physical media in the past year. It's like, I see these YouTube channels where they're actually calculating, they like save all the receipts and they put together how much they spend, and I'm just like, I can't. If I do that, I'm gonna crawl into a hole.
I believe a wise man once said ignorance is bliss. So
Right. And then I started thinking, well, wait a minute, I could have used all that money on a short film. And it's like, yeah, so those are some, a couple more here. Krampus is getting
Yes.
now that the director's cut, which is dubbed the Naughty Edition or something like that, the Naughty Cut, was originally released on the 4K, but it was only on Blu-ray. Now they're getting an actual 4K of the director's cut.
Nice.
And this one also comes with a cool snow globe.
Apropos. Yes.
So that's cool. Yeah, I was very surprised by this movie. I really enjoyed it.
I know, it was just kind of like a throwaway thing I put on, and I was like, oh, wow, okay.
Exactly. I was like, how good can this really be? And then I'm like, wow, I was hooked. I was glued to the screen with that movie.
Yeah.
And then lastly, this is a reissue, but it's on Steelbook, Escape from New York, classic in 4K. And look at that artwork.
I was going to say, worth it for the artwork alone.
Yeah. Fantastic artwork. So all those come out in November. So some really exciting stuff.
Good month for media.
Right, an expensive month for me.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to get 2 or 3 more jobs just to pay for the stuff.
Well, they have that seasonal help, right?
Yeah, right. You work for UPS, seasonal worker.
It's fine.
But yeah, I mean, you can see all this nonsense about how physical media is dead. It is not dead. Let me see if I can find it here. I don't have it right here.
Especially not when you say, like, so many streaming services are doing stuff where, like, the movie is pulled off, or it's for some licensing reason. Like, if you don't own a copy of A Brave Little Toaster, you can't watch it, period. If you don't own a copy of The Fall, you can't watch it, period. Like, and that's going to be fixed at the end of this month. That's going to be on Mubi for the first time in like 5 or 10 years. But like, these are good movies that you're denying yourself because you have to buy them and own them physically.
Yeah, and it's like, ever since streaming started, people buying stuff on VOD, I always said, you don't own the movie.
Nope.
And they never believed me until very recently when that big article came out in Variety or something where they said, you don't own the movie, you're only leasing it, basically.
Yeah.
And then everybody started saying, wait, you don't own the movie? I'm like, yeah, I've been saying that for years. You're basically leasing it. And it's all rights issues. Once the rights go out of date, and if it depends if either party wants to renew the contract. If they don't, then what you spent $10, $20 on is gone. It's not going to be on there.
And like we see things like, I think it was Funimation and Crunchyroll merged into each other. Like, what are you going to do when you own this movie on a software or an app or a website that doesn't exist anymore? Like, who cares? It's gone, man. It's gone. You don't have an account there anymore.
Yeah. And then also physical media. You don't get this kind of stuff on like, streaming. All the artwork, all the cool stuff. Like Paramount sent me the reissue of their Scare package. I mean, and it comes with like a Fangoria magazine and all this cool stuff in it.
Actually, one of the fun things about being a SAG member is during award season, I get sent DVD copies of everything, including the Netflix shows. So I have hard copies of things that are only supposed to be streaming. And I love that. It's like, it's such a delicious thing.
Yeah, I've gotten a few of those as well. And it's like, you want to hold on to them because it's like I said, like you said, the hard copy, it's like, it's very precious. Justin Toner says, my copy of the Godzilla store exclusive -1 is on its way. Yeah, I ordered that as soon as it was announced. I immediately ordered it because that's the only. I don't know if people realize this, but that is the only way to get the black and white version.
Yeah,
is with that set. At least until now. For now. And so I immediately went to go grab it and ordered it, and it shows. What's funny is it's being shipped 3 hours from where I live, and everyone else has gotten theirs already and posting and unboxing stuff, and I'm sitting here, I'm 3 hours away. Why?
Come on! Damn it!
It shows label has been created, or shipping label's been created. I'm like, okay, I'll just drive there and get it.
It's gonna be walking it over or something?
Right. Justin says Krampus is a fun movie. Have not seen the naughty cut yet. Yeah, the naughty cut is actually supposed to be the R-rated cut that they trimmed down to be a PG-13 movie. So it's got a little bit more. I think it's got a little bit of language in it and more gore.
I was gonna say gore, probably.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have any physical media pieces that you would like to?
Oh yeah, well,
case?
Definitely. I wanted to show you. This is the oldest and first movie I ever bought. We're talking about all these classic movies from the 80s. This is my VHS copy of The Last Unicorn.
Last Unicorn.
I was allowed to purchase this because I had gotten chickenpox, and I still have it.
Oh, that's cool.
I still have a VHS player, that college TV that had the VHS built in, because how else am I going to watch this? And then how else am I going to watch the last VHS I ever bought, which was Reservoir Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs.
And it's just like, I love, it's not just that I love The Last Unicorn. It's like, I love this copy of it that I bought when I was sick with my mom when I was a kid. So like the physicality of this is so important to me. So when you said like bring out physical media that's important, I was like, oh yeah, I'll get that copy for you straight up.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah, I still have the only VHS I still have is 1989's Batman. I still have that VHS copy. And my dad bought that for me back in the day when we had Laserdisc. We had a Laserdisc player, and my dad bought me Hot Shots Part 2 on Laserdisc. And he's and so I still have that. But I have a VHS player somewhere, but I haven't dug it out in years. But yeah, I mean, Last Unicorn's on 4K now, which is awesome too.
No,
a 4K release.
It's lovely to see these movies from our childhood getting the joy and the love and the time taken to restore them. You know, it is quite a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I made a little short clip I'm going to play here. I think I put it on my TikTok. I'm not sure. But this is what I said about physical media. It really proves physical media is not dead. It's alive. It's well. It still has a healthy heartbeat. And I mean, it's 100% true. Yeah. And what's funny, I had a couple comments like, well, dude, show the movie you're holding. I'm like, well, that's not the point of the video. And I'm like, I did a whole unboxing of it. Go check out that video if you want to see.
You know, can't please everybody all the time.
I made this clip that Robert Rodriguez actually reposted.
It's better than cocaine. Take it all in.
I want to play it.
Accurate, though. Accurate.
Never used it. Don't condone it, but...
It's a synesthesia, though, of opening up the physical media and holding it in your hand. That is a valued part of our film experience.
Right. Exactly. Real quick here, I got some stuff in from Kino Lorber. They sent me some of their September slate. I shot an unboxing of it yesterday, but it's not up yet. But one movie I've never seen that I've always wanted to, 1986, came out in 4K, called Link. Stars Elizabeth Shue. I didn't know Richard Franklin directed this. Terrence Stamp. Have you seen this?
I remember seeing it forever ago. I saw you posting about it recently. I was like, oh my God, core memory unlocked.
Yeah, it's one I think maybe I saw it a long time ago when I was a kid when it was on TV, but I barely remember it. But what's cool about Kino Lorber is their audio commentaries, they always have audio commentaries from film historians about the film. And I love that. I love listening to film historians. Another one is The Lady Killers on 4K.
Oh, wow, the original one.
Yeah.
Nice.
And another audio commentary from a film, two commentaries from film historian. And it comes with, I didn't know this, it comes with two different aspect ratios, a 1:6:6 to 1 ratio and a 1:3:7 to 1 ratio. That's interesting. So which one is the correct ratio?
That's my question, right?
And,
you decide.
Right. They did that with another one where they had Invasion of Body Snatchers.
Oh.
On 4K. They have it in 2.00 and in 1.85. And the only thing I can think of is a 2.00 is probably theatrical.
Yeah.
And then a 1.85 is probably, I don't know. But
TV.
I wish they would tell you which one is the preferred ratio
Yeah.
from the director. A couple other ones here. This is a TV movie that I've never seen called Fatal Vision. I have no idea what it's about. Really cool. And then I got two classic movies from the 50s. Botany Bay and then Red Mountain.
Bonnie Bay sounds familiar. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
I thought so too, and that's why I requested it, because I'm like, well, plus Alan Ladd is in it, and but I'm like, that looks so familiar to me, and so I'm like, hey, I'm gonna check it out. But yeah, so, and I don't know, there's a couple movies here that I recommend. This is a movie that I saw when I was like 6 or 8 years old, and I thought it was the most hysterical thing I've ever seen in my life, and I haven't seen it since until MVD released it, and that's Hardware Wars.
I've never even heard of this.
It is a independent spoof on Star Wars. And I made a video all about it. I got into how it was made. But it's this director. All he did was have a 16 millimeter camera, and he used, going back to what we said about use what you have, he used kitchen appliances, and iron was a starship. And he put like these cheap sound effects with it. He got a black background and put poked pin-sized holes in the black background to look like stars, shine a light through it, and he used his garage as a studio. And I mean, if you just watched it without really understanding the work that went into it, you would think this is just some silly, stupid thing that came out.
Yeah.
But again, like I say in my review, looking at it now, being older and as a filmmaker myself, I'm watching this in a completely different. I love the movie for completely different reasons, and that's just the way it was made, and that the gumption he had, the motivation he had to actually make this stuff, this movie, and it's like 14 minutes long. And what's cool about it is that he does it in like a fake movie trailer. So it's not just a narrative movie, but which I think was smart, because if he just made a movie, the jokes could have become very stale, redundant, and so that was like the best way to make this movie, and it's fun. I mean, like Princess Leia with her hair buns, he uses like real bread buns. I
think I must have seen something, because as soon as you start to describe it, I've got very vivid pictures, or at least maybe spoofs of the spoof.
Yeah, I'm sure you've probably seen it. It says here the budget was only $8,000, and this was in '78.
I'm trying to think what the budget for Ice Pirates was.
Oh, Ice Pirates.
Like, is it gonna? It's probably better than Ice Pirate.
Oh, yes, it's better than Ice Pirates. But yeah, it's like. And this comes with a ton of special features as well, that I go into in the review. So the review isn't out yet. I'm going to put it out later. But what's cool, I mean, look at the artwork. It's like harks back to the old VHS Betamax type covers. Really cool.
That's awesome.
And this one is called The Linguini Incident, and this is the director's cut. Rosanna Arquette, David Bowie. She is a waitress. He is a bartender. You remember seeing that? And
the title
so
is vivid.
Yeah, really. And so she has a chance to make something of her life, and the only way to do this, but she needs money quick, so they plan a heist to rob the restaurant. And what's interesting is that it's one of those casualties that we hear about from time to time, where the studio takes away, or a producer takes away the movie from the director and re-edits it. And it ends out not being what the director intended it to be, or completely different. And that's what happened with this.
Ice Pirates is one we just talked about.
Right. And so what's interesting too is that when you hear director's cut, we usually associate it with the runtime's longer, where they add in deleted scenes or stuff that was cut out. This is actually 5 minutes shorter than the theatrical. He went in and tightened it up and reorganized scenes.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
So yeah, and what's interesting too is that in an interview, it's like an hour interview with him about this, and he goes in and talks about how he always wanted to remake the movie because it was the only way he could actually get his full vision out was to remake it. And he never was able to. And now all of a sudden, I forgot what production company, but they came to him and said, "Hey, you want to do a director's cut?" So he spent, I think, 2 years doing this. And
Wow.
So like the beginning is different, where the beginning was actually later on in the movie, where it immediately, now with the director's cut, immediately sets you up with the plot of the movie. Where before you didn't really understand what's going on until much later, and it really helps, really elevates the movie that way.
Nice.
And so the comic timing is tighter. It's a lot better film. And what's cool about this too is that they included the theatrical cut as well on here. But yeah, this comes with like an introduction from the director, interview. Oh, it has a commentary from the director, Rosanna Arquette. That's cool. I haven't listened to that one yet, but that's a new commentary. Yeah, this is one to buy, guys, if you want to check it out. And it's a really good case study between what a producer or studio would recut compared to what the directors wanted it to be like.
Yeah.
Director's cut.
Yeah. And why you let artists cut movies and not executives.
Right. Sometimes, though, I mean, I will be fair. Sometimes a studio cut has been better than what the director originally wanted. Sometimes it's happened.
Sometimes I can't sit here for 5 hours. I'm sorry. It does need to be less than that. You're right. Touche.
Right. There has been times where studios are like, oh, this is just way too long. No one's going to sit there for 3.5 hours watching this movie. Let's cut it down to 2:30. You know.
It verges on self-indulgent sometimes.
Yeah. But then there's some directors, very, very, very rare to have final cut. Spielberg, James Cameron, Quentin Tarantino, they have final cut. But yet, one thing I appreciate about James Cameron is that he will go ahead and cut the movie down to a more theatrical runtime, and then later on he comes out with his director's cut.
He's aware of both those options, yeah. And it's smart because that's how you sell your later copy. Like, why would I watch it? Oh, I can watch it different. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So you win. So he wins both ways, you know.
Yeah.
And also more runtime in a theater, which brings in more money.
Yep. Tish.
So it's really about all the physical media I have to share. Did you have anything else?
I just wanted to take a quick second and just talk about some of the podcasts that I do.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I forgot to mention when you were like, what do you do? I was like, this, and then completely not mention that other thing.
And then the people you run a podcast with was like, what do you forgot about me?
I did mention MovierunTime at least. I did get those guys. I'm not serving myself because I have my own podcast. And we're podcasting right now. So this is like the turducken of podcastery. Podcasting about other podcasts. I have a show called What If You Don't Like It, and I take guests who are either tangential, like artists who are musicians and those who are filmmakers themselves, and I have them come on and they talk about a topic in film that they typically don't like, and then they watch a movie that they have not yet seen that falls into that category. So for example, like recently we had someone who really doesn't like horror movies. And we had them sit down and watch It Follows. And we talked to the guests before about what the pre-problem might be. And then we talked to them after and see how we wound up doing. And it winds up being a really interesting discourse about hangups we might have and trepidations. And sometimes it's right. Sometimes you thought you might not like it and you don't. You just don't.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a really cool idea for a podcast.
Thank you.
Where can they find that?
You can find it on my channel, on MovierunTime, on YouTube. You can also find it on Apple, Spotify, literally anywhere that does podcasts. If you type in What If I Don't Like It or my name, Katie Baldessaro, you're going to wind up finding this. The other one that I'm on, which is a weekly, every Tuesday live, although this Wednesday we're doing it live, so we're not doing it on Tuesday because we have a special guest. We have Eileen Jones, who is a wonderful film critic who has taught film at UC Berkeley, is coming on to talk about Beetlejuice 2 with us.
Oh, okay.
So, or Beetlejuice Squared, however it is you say the title to that. And we do a lot of like really specific conversations about how the movie is made and everything that goes into it. And then we also talk about like tangential stuff around it. It gets very chill. It's kind of like a hangout, but it's also kind of very informative. It's a really fun dichotomy to do both of those. So check me out on those podcasts, please.
Yeah, I'll leave the link after the show's done. I'll leave links in the description so people can click on it.
Awesome.
That is very cool. I haven't seen the Beetlejuice movie yet, but I've heard that Burton went back old school and relied heavily on practical effects. Have you seen it?
I just saw it this morning. So yes, I am fresh-eyed out of seeing it.
Thumbs up?
I enjoyed it. I have to say, I went in being like, oh my God, is this going to be the Ghostbusters movie? Is this going to be a nostalgia grab? Like, what am I getting into?
35 years too late there type of deal.
And I'm not going to be as fanatical as some people who are going to say that it's a 5-star masterpiece and Tim Burton is back. But you know what? It's very fine and fun in some parts. It is an absolute mess in the third act. Like, it just put too much stuff into the blender. But, you know, if you really enjoy it, you're going to have a good time. It's very fun. People seem to be laughing and enjoying it. It's just not like a masterpiece. And I'm fine with that.
Well, you can't expect, I mean, really. Can you expect Beetlejuice to be a masterpiece like that? Justin Toner says, I'm excited for Blazing Saddles coming out in 4K in November. One of my favorite movies. And
that's a good one.
I can't wait for that. And there was a fear going around for a while that they're going to edit out, you know, some of the crazy stuff.
Some of the other acceptable,
Yeah. And I'm just, you know, I've always been the point, of course, it's not acceptable today, but it's good to keep that in because it shows where we were back then in that time period. And how are we supposed to learn to better ourselves if we erase everything that happened in the past?
Yeah, and it feels like a very weird version of censorship that I'm not a big fan of film censorship, so...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but from what I've heard, they haven't edited it out or done anything.
I would be surprised.
That would be hard to do. I mean, basically, you would have a TV version of it if they did. Yes. And I can't imagine the uproar fans would have if they released that in 4K.
No, although sometimes I do love what people like, the things that wind up having to be said on TV because the line can't possibly be said, like the Big Lebowski. This is what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps. Like, oh, that's not the line, but that's fun to say anyway. Yeah.
I remember The Jerk, Steve Martin.
Yes.
One of my all-time favorite comedies.
Great.
And I remember because all I saw originally was just a TV cut. And he always called his dog Stupid. Come on, Stupid. Come here, Stupid. And then when I saw the R-rated cut, it was SH Head. And I'm like, what? That threw me back for a minute. And I'm like, it's funnier saying stupid instead of that to me, because it might have been just because that's how I was used to it. But to me, it was funnier with him saying, come on, stupid, come on, and instead of the other word. You know, it's
better.
Yeah, sometimes it is better. Shoot, there was something I was going to mention now. I don't remember what it was. Oh, well.
Sorry.
I hate it when that happens. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up. We've been on for about an hour. I want to thank you so much for coming on. I've been wanting to have you on for a while now.
Yeah,
and we definitely have to have you on again and discuss more about filmmaking, and all that good stuff. Guys, so go follow KT on her TikTok, her YouTube channel, MovierunTime. I'll have the links down below in the description. And again, thanks so much for coming on. And thanks to everyone out there for joining us in the live chat. And remember, guys, keep physical media alive, and we'll see you next time. Oh, real quick, Thursday night. It's a little bit later than I usually do my live show. It's 10 p.m. Eastern, but I'm having a voice actor on the live show, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. I've always wanted to talk with a voice actor.
I am a voice actor.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah, I do a show called Starwell Foundation. It's a world of comic book heroes. The postulate is in this world of comic book heroes, there's a foundation that helps children meet comic book heroes because they're sick. It's kind of like a Make-A-Wish but they're finding out that the children are now asking to meet supervillains, and so they now have to have this other version of them where they help supervillains meet and give the wishes of little children. And our protagonist Mary is in charge of doing that. I play several of the supervillains as well as one of the true crime podcasters. There's a show within the show.
Oh, that's cool. That is so cool. All right, so it'll be my second voice actor I have on the show.
The first one, no worries. Yeah, we're good people.
Yeah. He's on TikTok. I've watched him for a while, and I'm like, man, I want to. So I reached out to him, and he's like, yeah, sure, absolutely.
Oh,
so yeah, so that'll be a fun show to do. So Thursday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central, which is where I am. All right, guys. Thanks so much for coming on and watching, and we will see you guys later.
Ciao.